Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan Ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji.
Welcome everyone to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. In the same way that in school, right, we start in nursery. In India, they have this LKG and UKG. In America, we just have kindergarten. But we start young. And then every year we come back. Then we're in first grade, then second grade. And we learn more and more each year until ultimately we pass out. And if we are going along in one of our grades and jo seekhna hai, hum nahi seekhte. If we miss learning something we needed to learn, the teacher will hold us back. Not because she's mean or hates us or is against us, but because ultimately the teacher's highest goal is that we should learn what's needed in each class. So if you don't learn to read properly, or you don't learn to count properly, or you don't learn your math properly, you end up redoing second grade, third grade, fifth grade, jo bhi hai. Not because you're bad, not because you're being punished, but actually for your own best interest, so you can learn it. So in life, it's a very interesting cycle. जब हम संसार के बारे में बात करते हैं या लीला के बारे में बात करते हैं, it's this whole idea of that which was never separate from God, is still one with God, has never been two, has never been separate, but forgot that it was one, thought it was separate, and now essentially has to go to school for a lot of years to remember that it is one. We are one with God. We've never been anything but one with God. But because of the way Maya works, because of this whole Leela and wheel of samsara, we forget that. And in our ignorance, we accrue karmic debts. We do action, karma, and that karma has reactions. Sometimes sweet, sometimes bitter. But the moment we get a karmic fruit, we have to come back to eat it. In our bank accounts, if we've got 100 rupees we deposit, and 100 rupees we withdraw, bank account is 0. You're done. But in life, unfortunately, it's not like that. Sometimes people think, well, I did something that's getting me negative karma. I did something ignorant, something wrong. Galti ki maine. Jante hue, na jante hue. Galti ki. Then they say, well, if I do something good, can it cancel it all out and mera kaam ho gaya? Unfortunately, the karmic bank account doesn't work like that. We actually have to keep coming back Some of the lifetimes will be enjoying sweet fruit. Some will be not really enjoying, but dealing with bitter fruit, sour fruit. Maybe in one lifetime we have different fruit. But we actually have to keep coming back to eat it. It's like kabhi kabhi guard mein hai na, maa kehte hai ki jab tak plate khali nahi tum utoge nahi. Right? So many of us hear that in our homes. Finish your dinner, then you can get up. So it's kind of like that. Like we've had this plate of food laid before us. And until it's over, we're not done. Then, of course, Bhagwan Krishna explains to us through Arjuna. Because Arjuna, of course, asks, then what's the answer? If everything I do, good things, bad things, if everything accrues this karmic fruit, and I have to keep coming back to eat it, then what's the answer? And there's actually two answers. So the first answer is what Bhagwan Krishna gave in the Gita, which is, whatever you do, surrender it to me. Whatever you do, surrender it to me, everything. There's this beautiful mantra we're given. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yaj chahoshi dadasiyat yat tapasyasi konteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you're acting, whatever you're eating, even all of your sadhana, your yagnas, your tapasya, just offer it to me. Don't think about any of it as you are the doer. Because what most of us tend to do, jab galti hoti hai, we say, well, though, I couldn't help it. Not my fault. Stars were misaligned. I was not paying attention. But when we do something good, we're doing seva, we're serving, we're helping, we're doing tapasya, we feel very proud of that. I've done this. Do gante dhyan kiya maine aaj. Right? Itni jap mala ki. Itni abhishek. Hard Monday mein jati hun abhishek karne ke liye. We feel very much like we are the doers. And what Bhagwan Krishna's taught us is, whatever you do, offer it to me, surrender it to me. It's the only way to break this cycle of karma and rebirth. But along with that, there's something else as well. Usko karte hue, surrender karte hue, laying everything at God's feet, karte hue. We also have this beautiful opportunity to realize that here on earth, ये जो मोक्ष जिसके बारे में हम बात करते हैं, सभी मोक्ष चाहिए कि मोक्ष कब मिलेगा? When do I get to stop coming back finally? लोगों को लगता है कि मरने के बाद फिर मोक्ष मिलेगा. And it's something we look forward to. जल्दी जल्दी मर जाऊं ताकि मोक्ष मिलेगा. But what Puja Swamiji always emphasizes is, if we're not free in our lives, don't think you're going to be free after dying. Sharir ko chhodna does not automatically bring you moksha, because the body is not the problem. Nobody is stuck in the wheel of samsara because of their elbows. Right? It's not when I become finally free of my elbow, then I will have moksha. Free of my bones, free of my toes, free of my liver and kidneys, fir moksha milega. Your liver and kidney and unglis, these are not the problem. The mind is the problem. And so as we are offering everything to God, ultimately to free ourselves, we also realize that here in this body, in this incarnation, agar man se mukt ho sakte hain, then jeete moksha milega. Then we have what we call jiva mukti. That it's not after you leave the body, it's in the body liberation, in the body freedom. Because we're free of the nonsense of the mind. So rather than worrying about how many lifetimes you have to do this, if you can get free of your mind, then these lifetimes become a pleasure. Then they're a joy. Then we're smelling flowers, watching the beautiful Ganga River flow, enjoying the sound of the birds. Then there's no bandhan. Then every day is moksha. And if you're not free of your mind, then it doesn't matter how many lifetimes you keep doing. The mind travels with the soul. Man, buddhi, ahankar. Atma ke saath jate hain. It's the subtle body. So as we move from lifetime to lifetime, the impressions of the mind stay with us. So don't think he just let me finish another few lifetimes and I'll be done. Jab tak apne man ko, man se mukti nahi milega. You can keep taking lifetimes, keep getting new bones, new kidneys, new livers, new fingers, new toes, new elbows, but you'll still be stuck. So this is why spiritually we work. In our meditation, in our prayer, in our satsang, in our seva, to be free of the mind so that life becomes freedom. Jite hue moksha. And then we're able to really enjoy this beautiful creation.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit rain.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation. I'm so glad to have you all back here with me. The attachments keep everybody stuck. However, the cut kya hai? You and I both know we have the great blessing of knowing many enlightened masters. We've both been in the presence of many enlightened masters. Ab mujhe ye batao. Are they detached? Are they disconnected? Are they aloof? Are they indifferent? Not even a little bit. The enlightened masters in whose presence I've been so blessed to be, Puja Swamiji and others, they are actually the most compassionate, the most caring, the most ready to serve, केदारनाथ की जब फ्लड्स आए, मुझे याद है रोज गंगा जी की आरती में महाराज जी की आंखों में आंसू आए, उन लोगों के बारे में सोचते सोचते. हम आरती कर रहे हैं. They were trapped up in the mountains until people got brought out. रोज आंखों में आंसू आए. And then immediately, all of the energy, all of the time went immediately in setting up relief camps, bus station में, train station में. पूरी आश्रम को खोल दिया, सबको बुलाया. Anybody who needed a place to stay. This is what our gurus do. If you've ever been blessed to be in the presence of a master, a real guru, you know, this is what they do. I've seen Puja Swamiji give his clothes literally to people, give his shawl to people, give his food to people. These are not the acts of someone who is disconnected from others or life. So then we start thinking, though, what is the solution? जब हम attached हो जाते हैं, we are stuck. Our mind is always stuck, families, this, expectations. I realized several years later, actually Bhagavad Katha ko sunte hue from Puja Vaishri, he was speaking about bhakti. And he was speaking about Gyan and Vairagya as the offspring of bhakti. And I started thinking, because bhakti is devotion, but it's not dry devotion. Bhakti is juicy devotion. Right? We cry in bhakti, we serve in bhakti, our hearts just melt in bhakti. You think, how could juicy love give birth to dry detachment? Right? Vairagya was not adopted. How is it that juicy devotion gives birth to dry detachment? It can't happen. And that's when I realized that actually detachment, I don't think is the right English translation of Vairagya. It's not actually what we're looking for. If you realize that in order to get the son, you have to go through the mother, it means कि पहले भक्ति होना चाहिए अपनी life में. तभी वैराग्य हो सकते हैं. Bina Ma, you cannot have the offspring. So without bhakti, the mother, we cannot have vairagya, the offspring. So we have to begin with devotion. And then what happens is vairagya happens automatically. I think vairagya should actually be translated as reattachment, not detachment. We reattach ourselves to the divine through bhakti. We are in such juicy love with God that automatically that attachment to choti si cheez, wo kya keh rahe hain, ye kya kar rahe hain, mere se kaise baat kiya, wo kya samajhte apne aap ko, usko kya hoga, ye, all of these choti si cheez, automatically that attachment dissipates because we've reattached to the divine. And so we become free of the stuff that kills us. Because if you really look at it, the love and attachment itself is not the full problem. The real problem is the expectation that comes with the attachment. So I'm attached to you. I love you. Wonderful. My heart is full of love. But because I'm attached to you, I expect कि आप मेरे से ठीक से बात करेंगे. मेरे को respect करेंगे, जो मैं चाहती हूँ वही करोगे. And when you don't, then I am miserable. So my expectation from you in that attachment, that's what kills me. And this is where we learn from the saints. When they love and care, it's not with expectation. It's with connection, but not expectation. It's not after we've saved these people, given them medical care, given them a roof, given them this. It's not how are they going to live. It's not how are they going to treat us. It's not are they going to love us and appreciate us. And it's not that. Bina expectation. So in the relationships, the question becomes, we are connected, we should be connected. But we are connected in a way that begins with bhakti. First, we are connected to God. Automatically, the little attachments, annoyances, frustrations, they disappear. Automatically. And then we are able to love each other, to be connected. To even be attached in the way like, I don't want anything bad to happen to you. But not attached with an expectation that you're going to live, choose, speak, be the way I want you to. Because we no longer need that. Our connection to bhakti has made us so full that we no longer need this person acting the way I want them to, that person doing what I want, this person being nice to me, this one appreciating me. Because we're immersed in bhakti. And so the whole detachment or reattachment process has to begin with bhakti. Only then we get the real vairagya. And when it comes, then it's like we're connected, we love, we serve, but we don't need something from them. And so there isn't that expectation, an attachment to getting my way. Then it's just love. And then it's beautiful. Spirituality is not about become disconnected, stop loving. It's just stop relying on other people's karmic dramas for your own peace and happiness. Because that's what happens in relationships. You're in a good mood, I'm happy. You're not in a good mood with me, I'm miserable. You're nice to me, I'm peaceful. You're not nice to me, I'm not peaceful. Even if it has nothing to do with me. You had a stressful day at work, you come home in a bad mood. But then what do? Oh my God, I was so peaceful for Abhagya. इतना सुंदर दिवस फिर तुम आ गए मेरे सामने. अच्छा रहता ना आए guard. Because our peace and our happiness is so halka that every random person's mood has the ability to steal it. When we're really rooted in bhakti, then our mood is rooted in bhakti. Not in everybody else's individual daily drama of their own karmic cycle and ego stories and whatnot. And so it makes us free, even while living and being connected and loving.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation. My faith is really shaken, and I'm not sure what to do. My inclination has always been toward God, and whatever I am today, of course, is because of God. But in the corner of my heart, I have questions and doubts. What can I do to restore my faith? Well, the nice thing about God is He doesn't mind questions. There's no place where God says, never ask me anything. Never question, never ask, thou shalt have no questions. God doesn't say that. God doesn't say you must take everything I say just because I say it, never question, never wonder, never ask. In fact, the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita are scriptures rooted in questions, rooted in dialogue. The Bhagavad Gita is full of Arjuna saying to Krishna, why? Explain, I don't understand. What about this? What about that? 700 verses of questions. The Upanishads are full of questions, dialogues, questioning. So the first important part is, don't worry if you have questions. God's okay with your questions. It's fine to have them. It's even fine to have doubts. Again, there's nothing that says thou shalt never have a doubt. Thou shalt turn off your rational mind. There's nothing in our scriptures that says that. Faith is not something God needs. Faith is something we need. The doubts don't bother God. You know, it's like if you've ever had an argument with someone where you absolutely know you're right. And I don't mean those sorts where everybody thinks they're right, but an argument where actually there is an objective correctness. It's a mathematical problem. It's something about the past that all you've got to do is go back and check. It's an address. It's a phone number. It's, these sorts of things that really do have right and wrong. Well, if you've ever been in an argument with someone about something like that is provable, and you know you're right, but the other person just won't listen. It doesn't usually bother you because you know. Well, at the end of the day, eventually they're going to realize I'm right. Like all the facts are there. Whether for 10 minutes or 10 hours or 10 days. They think that they're right. They're going to realize. And I think in the same way God feels, they'll realize eventually, if not this life, next life. If not next life, the life after that. But see, the universe is infinitely patient. And so there isn't an agenda, you must believe it right now. So the doubts, I don't think, bother God. God gave us brains that think rationally. I mean, if God had wanted us not to use our rational brains, we wouldn't have them. We've been given minds that question. And I actually believe that everything God has given us is on purpose. So I don't think that our doubts bother God at all. But they hurt us a lot. Because the doubts keep us from being close to God. And so if your faith is shaken, what you need to ask yourself is, what have I expected from God, from the universe, that I'm not getting? That's what shakes our faith. I've got an expectation that if I'm a good person and I do my puja and my prayers and my mantra, I'm going to get the job I want. I'm going to be the one to get the promotion. The stock market's going to go in my favor. When I'm late for work because I overslept and I get in the car, there won't be any traffic. We have this sort of expectation from the universe. When we identify as good people, especially spiritual people, who are doing things to make God happy, right? We think, well, I'm doing a yagna, God will be happy. I'm doing puja, God will be happy. I'm chanting my mantra, God will be happy. God doesn't need these things. Not your rice, not your milk, not your ghee. We do all of those to reconnect us back to the divine. When we're not sitting in puja, when we're not meditating, when we're not in the temple, chances are we're not thinking about God. Chances are we're thinking about the stock market, or what we're going to buy, or what we're going to have for dinner, or how we're going to get someone in bed. We do puja and meditation and rituals to connect us, but not as a bargaining chip to God. And so when we have these expectations and they're not fulfilled, we tend to lose faith. Right? I was just saying the other night, the universe is not a vending machine. But we think of it as that. I put in my metaphoric money. I've done my puja, I've done my abhishek, I've done my mantra. And I push the button and what I want should come out. And when it doesn't, then we think that the vending machine of God is broken. And we lose faith. I've always prayed to God, why did I lose my mother, my father, my child, my job? But that's not what God promises us. God doesn't say, come to me and I'll make you CEO of a company or president of a company. God doesn't say, come to me and you'll be the richest guy on the block. God says, come to me. And your suffering, your ignorance, will disappear. Come to me. And that sense of aloneness, that sense of fear, that stress that running after illusions. You'll be free of that. Come to me, and you'll know who you are. This is what God promises us. But our faith tends to get shaken when we're thinking of God as a vending machine. So if you find yourself with shaken faith, simply ask yourself, first of all, again, doubts, fine, have them as long as you need them. God will be patient. Questions, ask as many as you want. See if you can outdo Arjun. No problem. Have your own Upanishad. No problem. With your own questions, your own conversation, no problem. But if you find that beyond that your faith is still shaken, ask yourself, what was I expecting that didn't happen? What bargaining chip did I think I had with God that I was let down in? And when you realize that, then you're going to see where you lost your faith. And then you get to choose whether you want to go back to a connection with faith in a God who may not give you the job, or the spouse, or the child, or the health, or the wealth, but who will give you simply God's presence. And if that's something you want, then you turn back to God. And if not, well, as I said, the universe is very patient. At some point in one of your future incarnations, you will be more inclined.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation. Where does self-worth come from? Real self-worth comes from knowing that we are an embodiment of the divine on earth. Comes from knowing that here we are as this manifestation of, embodiment of, reflection of the divine. And when we know that, it's like we go to our mandirs and we images of the divine. We see in those images the presence of God, the presence of the divine. We recognize, of course, that it's not that all of God from all over the world has just coalesced into this one image, but we understand that that is a reflection of, a reminder of. But with ourselves, it's this living, breathing, constantly changing incarnation of the presence of the divine. And so real self-worth comes from knowing that here I am as an embodiment of the divine. All sorts of different shapes and colors and sizes and stories and backgrounds, like the different flowers in a garden. But that's where real self-worth comes from. The dilemma is that that's very rare. I should say that's where ideal self-worth comes from. It's very rare, though, because most of us identify the self as the physical body, as the story, as the skills and abilities, talents, careers, success. We identify as that. And so we judge our worthiness based on it. And that's where trouble happens, because that's where we move through the world not feeling worthy. I'm not rich enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not successful enough. I'm not popular enough. I'm not extroverted enough. I'm not smart enough, funny enough. We're constantly judging ourselves as though we were just this physical package. And it's not our faults. Most of us get that from childhood, if not all of it. As we're raised, we're taught that we are what we do, that our worthiness is based on what we do, and it's really tragic. Unless you had parents who were really enlightened, really fully conscious all the time, and who just loved you, not in their minds and hearts, but actually in their expression of love to you, in their words, in their actions, regardless of what you did. Unless you had that, you're going to have some sense of self-worth being based on what you look like, how you achieve, what you do. It's what we get in childhood. We come home with a good grade on the exam, and we get hugged and kissed and put on mom's lap and loved up. We come home with a bad grade on the exam. We get disappointed looks. Some even get slapped or beaten or punished or whatever. But we certainly don't get loved up. Nobody says, oh, an F on the exam. Oh, come here. Let me give you a big hug. I'm so proud of you. And so what we learn is, number one, other people's happiness, like our mom's happiness, our dad's happiness, is up to us. We are responsible. We are responsible for mom's good mood, dad's good mood. Right? They say just wait till your father gets home. He's going to be really angry. Or wait till your mom hears about this. She's going to be really angry. It means you're responsible. You are responsible for mom's mood, for dad's mood. Your actions are the reason that mom will be happy, dad will be happy. So that's kind of a lot of a weight to put on a kid anyway. Kids should never feel that they are responsible for mom or dad's moods. And then aside from that, we're constantly being told, directly, indirectly, that your worthiness is based on what you look like, how you perform. Why can't you be as good as your cousin Susie? Right? This one's getting straight A's. Why can't you get straight A's? What do they have that you don't have? The next door's neighbor's kid is a star on the soccer team. Why are you so uncoordinated? And we hear this different ways all the time. What's wrong with you? Why can't you be like? Or, parents will say things like, this is so-and-so, she's the smart one. And this is so-and-so, introducing siblings. This is sibling A, she's the smart one. This is sibling B, she's the pretty one. Right? Now, parents don't realize how they are messing up so much of our sense of self. They think they're being nice. This one's smart, this one's pretty, like both good things. But what both of them learn is that their identity is wrapped up in either how they look or how they're doing in school, how quickly they learn things, how they do on an exam. And chances are the one who's smart wishes she were pretty. The one who's pretty wishes she were smart. The one who gets told she's smart goes home and looks in the mirror and cries, like, why does mom not think I'm pretty? The one who's pretty now is going to check out mentally in school because, well, mom has already said, I'm not smart. And then as we grow, our whole sense of self-worth gets wrapped up in all of that. The one who was told she's smart spends her whole life feeling like a failure that she's not pretty. The one who was told she's pretty spends her whole life feeling like a failure. Not smart enough. Maybe she doesn't even try. Decides not to go to college or, skips classes because she thinks, well, what's the point? Now, I'm not blaming parents here. For the most part, they're really doing the best they can. It's just they don't realize the impact that this has. And so ideal self-worth is I'm divine. Whatever my particular physical, mental package story may be, I'm divine. I deserve to occupy my place on planet Earth because I am an embodiment of the divine. The same reason that every tree deserves to keep standing. Every body of water deserves to keep flowing. Every mountain deserves to stay because they've been created. Created by God, created by the creation. You would never say to a tree or a mountain, how dare you? Who do you think you are? We understand they've been put here by a perfect knowing. You would never yell at a flower for being the wrong color or shape or size. Or at a tree for being the wrong type of tree. Why don't you give apples? What do you mean you only give acorns? This one gives apples. Why can't you be like that? We we'd never do it. It would be ridiculous. So we understand the inherent worth of everything else in nature. But ourselves, we've sadly been kind of indoctrinated, first in our families and then by culture and advertising and whatnot, to feel like we are only worthy when we are upholding standards, whether it's beauty standards or whether we're doing what other people want us to be doing. Right? You're worthy as long as the neighbors are happy. But when it starts to be ki samne wale kya sochega, then you're no longer worthy. If somehow the neighbors no longer respect us, you're not worthy. If you're not fulfilling my agenda, you're not worthy. So we spend our lives feeling unworthy. So the way to get that back, is to just kind of take a little trip down memory lane and sort of ask yourself, God, why is it that I feel like I'm not worthy because I'm not this or that? Just see whether you can remember where that may have come from, because when you then can look at the person who told you that, directly, indirectly, and you're able to see them as just another human being struggling in their own karmic package, struggling in their own drama, it takes that hold out of it. It's like if you've ever worked with autistic children, for example, or children on the spectrum of autism, a lot of them don't like to be touched. And if you touch them, not all of them, of course, but many of them, if you touch, frequently there will be a sort of violent reaction. They will react. Now you touch them out of love, out of caring. But they, maybe you'll get a bonk in the nose by accident. Now, you understand this child didn't mean to hurt you. You're not going to be angry at the child. You understand, there's a challenge in the child's development. I misunderstood it. I misread it. And the child, in his or her karmic drama that includes this particular challenge, reacted. Not because he or she meant to give me a bloody nose. Not because he or she meant to hurt me. But just because that was all they could do in the moment. And in the same way, when we're able to look back at those who have hurt us in that way, we're able to see them as challenged in their own ways, facing difficulties in their own ways, struggling in their own ways, and that they too were just doing what they could with the toolboxes they were given. So that would be the first step. And then the second step would be to recognize that who you are, regardless of any of that, is divine. And since we know that every tree is worthy of staying standing and every mountain is worthy of being there, we recognize that so are we. And we stop measuring our self-worth based on what we look like or what we do or how we uphold a cultural standard or someone else's agenda. And we start to really find that self-worth in our own self, which ultimately is where it should come from.
This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week. And I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time on OMTimes Radio.